Are you going to send the email reminder, inshallah?
Yep, I did, and I will send the link now, inshallah.
No. Why didn't it come? Oh. Are you going to? Okay. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم استخدمنا في خدمة القرآن والإيمان والإسلام بالسعادة والسلامة والصحة والعافية والإخلاص والصبر والسكينة. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم نور قلوبنا بنور الإيمان والقرآن والإسلام وبمعرفتك. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah, we are studying in the name of God, the most merciful, the most gracious, most merciful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And we are in the fifth mystery. So as a recap a little bit, we were trying to understand how we can take this verse practically into our lives and live with it. And the discussion we had last time, if I recall a little bit, we started noticing that all the events, everything that we are interacting with in the universe is communicating something to us. So it becomes, we focused on how this communication needs to be taken by the human being. So for example, you are eating something or drinking something, there is a communication going on. If you're walking outside, you're looking at the sky, or you're doing some work, maybe you're cooking, whatever you are doing, every event, you are interacting with some things in the universe, everything that is there, and there's a meaningful aspect that we are focusing on in terms of the universe and the interactions we have. So we cannot deny that there is some meaning that is there. Everything that we are doing, for example, when you read a book, I mean, you are going through it, you're reading some sentences, words, but they give you a meaning. So there is a meaning behind that thing. So the universe can be seen as a book, and you can, whatever you are interacting with, there is a meaning that is being imparted on you. And now, where is this meaning coming from? Who is communicating? And that is how this phrase, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is coming into the picture. Because we talked about all the merciful aspect in creation. So everything that you see in the universe, there are things going around, everything that is happening, you see that it is their existence, the fact that they are there engaging and they're serving the human beings, there is a sign of mercy that is being reflected. So as a human being, how do I take it? I need to use my consciousness that is within me, and as a human being, I'm endowed with certain qualities that I have, and I use, for example, my consciousness, reasoning, awareness, my feelings, my senses, all those get employed when interacting with the universe in terms of how I would respond consciously back to the one who is presenting all these things, all these events, all these things that I interact with in the universe. So that was a little recap, and I'm trying to see if anybody else, feel free to share out if you have any, recall if anything that you think is worth reminding everyone before we delve into the fifth mystery, which is a little, goes into somewhat a new topic. And we did start reading that as well. So if anybody wants to say anything, if not, then we will continue with the fifth mystery, because that will touch into how there's a hadith which we will, let me read it again, and we'll see what the status of the human being is and how we can understand what these qualities and what the mercy is being referred to. So let's start this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, fifth mystery. So I am reading from the book. Yeah. So there is a hadith which goes something like this. God created man in the form of the Most Merciful. It has been interpreted by some Sufis in an extraordinary way, unfitting for the tenets of belief. Some of them, who were ecstatics, even considered man's spiritual nature to be in the form of the All-Merciful. Since ecstatics are mostly immersed in contemplation and confused, they are perhaps to be excused in holding views contrary to reality. But on consideration, people in their right senses cannot accept ideas of theirs that are contrary to the fundamentals of belief. If they do, they are in error. On consideration, people in their right senses cannot accept ideas of theirs that are contrary to the fundamentals of belief. If they do, they are in error. Indeed, the most pure and holy Deity, who administers with order the whole universe as though it were a palace or a house, and spins the stars as though they were particles, and causes them to travel through space with wisdom and ease, and employs minute particles as though they were orderly officials. So whoever administers these has no partner, match, opposite, or equal. So too, according to the meaning of the verse, there is nothing whatever like unto him, and he hears and sees all things. This is from the Quran, chapter 42, verse 11. There is nothing whatever like unto him, and he hears and sees all things. Let me continue. He has no form, like, or peer, and there is nothing resembling him or similar to him. Yeah, let me stop here, because then it goes into another verse also, which is related as well. But let's see how the author is introducing, this, trying to analyze this hadith that is highlighting about man's creation and being in the form of the Most Merciful. And now, once we read these kind of hadiths, we have to be careful. Like, we need to understand how this fits into the fundamentals of belief. So we cannot imagine ourselves to be as if we are gods or anything, because we have to realize our position. What important aspect here that we need to first understand who we are, what we are as beings. Do we see ourselves as created beings, do we see ourselves that we, can I say I have these, the feelings I have, they are mine? Can I say the hands, I made them, I am the owner of them? Can I say my eyes are mine? The power of sight is mine? Can I say all those things? Or do I have to understand that, yeah, does it make sense that if I say, yeah, I mean, I find myself in existence, so someone must have given me existence. Otherwise, how do I explain my existence? Can I put it on my parents that they give me existence, or something else, on the cells, maybe material things? Is that possible? Does it make sense? Or I have to say, yeah, something that is, I don't know how to describe it, but must not be of the within the material world, not within the universe that I experience, must be something outside, or something not of the nature, as to make it more clear, of the universe, or of the not of the nature of a created form, somebody who must be the creator, or to give it the proper terminology, we can say it must be an absolute source who must be the one who must give exist. I mean, how I would explain my existence to belong to. So now the Hadith says God created man in the form of the Most Merciful. So definitely man has been given existence, has been created, and in the form of the Most Merciful is now how the part which I think we need to focus on. So the author starts in this first two paragraphs, trying to make at least what I got it from it is about like, hey, pay attention to the fundamentals of belief, and don't go into your, wild imaginations of trying to give a shape or form to something that you don't really cannot give to. So there is this understanding, this absolute that we label as this absolute being, as he calls it, the author says, the most pure and holy deity. And this being, you can see the work that is being in the universe from him. So the administration of the whole universe, as though it were a palace or a house. So it's as simple as like somebody who must know each and everything in the universe. He must know you, your feelings. He must know the ant, what the ant is doing, must know, each, but the tree, the plants, each flower, everything is under the one who makes the whole and administers the whole universe. So it must be as easy as, like the stars are as if they're like particles, and they're traveling. So it must be as easy for the one who knows each and everything, must have knowledge, must have power, and must have the will to be giving and administering all this. So there is this aspect of what this absolute or most merciful kind of entails, what it must be, something that you can understand that there must be a source. As a conclusion, logically you can come to that understanding and conclusion that there must be that absolute source who is giving existence to all those things. So that is what the the start of how the author tries to bring into existence, that understand who and what this source is. He cannot be something that I would put in the vicinity of the universe. Must be something not of the nature of the universe. And then there is this verse. Let's go there. There is nothing whatever like unto him, and he hears and sees all things, which is Quran chapter 42, verse 11. So this again puts in the emphasis on like the nothing part, nothing, like la ilaha kind of aspect, goes through the negation aspect of understanding, like whatever you think, that is not the source of existence. Like go through this negation part, question whether this can be the source of existence of anything, and you will say in the universe, there was nothing whatever like unto him. La ilaha, you would come to that understanding that there is nothing possesses that absolute quality, nothing possesses that absolute will, power, knowledge in this universe. So nothing whatever like unto him. And then it continues with, and the source must know, hears and sees all things. I see that there is a knowledge aspect, that the quality of, primarily knowledge, I would say. He hears, the all-hearing one. Whoever gives existence to these things must know them, must be acquainted, must be able to hear each and every one's cries and their conversations, their thoughts, their feelings, and must know exactly, see in terms of all-seeing one, whatever is, going on, how this administration is happening. Everything must be within this knowledge that we are. I think that makes it clear, his knowledge. But and then the form, he has no form like or peer, and there's nothing resembling him or similar to him. I think is an explanation of the verse, that you cannot give it any form like or peer. There's no comparison, nothing in this universe or in any example. You can say that, hey, this is like that, but there's nothing, there's no comparison at all. You cannot make a comparison. So that he has no form like or peer, and there's nothing resembling him or similar to him. So I will pause here. And then before we move on to the next paragraph, which is similar, and to see if anybody would like to add anything. And I see Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. It's a beautiful, very comprehensive introduction to the subject. There are some points that attracted my attention, that we have been studying how we should understand Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most merciful, most gracious, and apply it into our life. But suddenly the subject changes. Talks about God created man in the form of the most merciful. What is it to do with our subject? Of course, we should understand that the common word in these sayings of the Prophet, most merciful, there is a direct and important connection between what Hadith says, the most merciful, and what Bismillah includes in it, the most merciful, the most compassionate or gracious. That's why we are studying this, and we will come back to this subject in the following paragraphs there. What we have to pay attention here while we are studying this hadith, first of all, we have to focus on this matter. What does hadith mean? The sayings of the Prophet, narrations, okay, but narrations from his life, from his speech, from his actions, from his relationship with the rest of his friends and with the rest of the things in which he was created. All the narrations, he did this, he said this, he was behaving in this way, he was happy, he was angry, etc. And who was he? The Prophet. What does it mean? The messenger of God. What does it mean? The one who created the universe and created the human beings and has given free will to the human beings and let them act freely in this world, choose everything freely, but at the same time, this human beings can make mistakes, can choose right and wrong, right or wrong. So there is an option for human beings to make mistakes. And there are lots of human questions that needs to be answered, and the universe cannot answer them. Human expectations of perfection, human expectations of eternal bliss, eternal happiness. And universe is silent about these questions. But my Creator has given me all these senses, all these questions that I can ask. I'm conscious of these questions, but I'm created with my consciousness by my Creator. So this Creator says, okay, I know what I have created. I'm going to give you a guide, educate, prepare, train, a guide for you so that you can get your answers to your questions, and also you can learn how you should live in this world. This guide is called the messenger. He brings the message from the Creator and puts the content of the message into his practical life. By doing this, he demonstrates how other human beings also can practice the message of the Creator in their own lives. Hadith means the narrations of his practices in this sense. So it is related to me. I must take it seriously, but while I am reading or hearing the narrations from the life, practical life of the Prophet, I have to bear in mind one very essential point, which is this messenger has been given the message by the Creator of the universe to be conveyed to human beings, and put the content of the message into his practical life. It means he cannot contradict the message he is bringing. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a messenger. He wouldn't be an educator. He wouldn't be an example for human beings. If he brings the message and contradicts the content of the message, it means he is not a messenger. He is doing something wrong. He cannot be my example. He cannot be my teacher. So the Hadith says, God created men in the form of the Most Merciful, which is the saying of this messenger. But the text also says, let me underline this if I can. So this one. People in their right senses, I hope we are trying to be in our right senses. We don't want to mislead ourselves. So let's say we cannot accept ideas of theirs, those people who interpret this hadith in the wrong way, that are contradictory to the fundamentals of belief. If we do, we are in error as well. So the text says, cannot be the hadith narrations, the sayings of the messenger cannot contradict to the fundamentals of belief, which is fundamentals of the teachings of the message, which is, in the case of the Prophet Muhammad, the Quran. Why? He cannot do, say, or act in a way that contradicts the content of the message. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a messenger. If we understand that as Asim, the moderator, presented us at the beginning in the form of an introduction to the subject, we see that the universe must be owned, created by an absolute being. Absolute being, as Asim said, cannot be like that of the universe. The universe needs to be created. Universe is not absolute. It is subject to time and change. And universe includes in it life, death, and everything, changing. So fundamentals of the teachings of the Quran, which is described here as the fundamentals of belief. Fundamentals of belief means the foundational teachings of the Quran. The Hadith must be understood, the sayings of the Prophet must be understood within the conditions of the fundamentals of belief. So you can, or we can, interpret and comprehend the meaning of the Hadith by remaining within the fundamental teachings of the message, which is the Quran. So we cannot understand the Hadith, which says God created men in the form of the Most Merciful, which means we cannot understand, impossible, that God created human beings like that of his own form. It's absolute. His form must be absolute, whether he has form or not, but cannot be understood in this way. So what are we going to, or how are we going to understand it? I remember last week, at the close of the discussion, the time was up, one of our friends, as far as I remember, the Suhail, I think he's among us now. Let me see if he's, Suhail Dab, yeah. Suhail said, look, be careful, God created. He said, attracted our attention on this word, created. It means human beings are inevitably created beings. Created beings cannot be like the creator. Creator must be by definition not like the universe, but I am a part of the universe as a human being. So we should understand the word in the form. Not, sorry, it's my nightmare now. In the form, if I can manage. No, I couldn't. In the form here, in the Hadith. Why it doesn't give me the option to highlight? I must have done something wrong again. Okay. Yeah. Like that of the picture, surah. Surah means picture. Of course, human mind thinks in this way. My picture, as you see it in the screen, looks like my form, but doesn't include any quality that I have. It is just the appearance. So form means not of the qualities of the creator, but not the shape of it either, because an absolute being cannot have a shape. But me and the picture on the screen are both created beings. So it can reflect my created form, which has a shape, which is limited, starts from here, ends here. If you like, starts from here, ends here. So I have a shape. I'm not absolute. So my shape and the shape of the picture may resemble each other, may remind each other. Although the picture, surah, which is the original language of the Hadith, Allahu khalaqa al-insana fi surat al-Rahman. Surah means the picture, but not the picture in this world, that the picture of an object and the picture, the object itself. That absolute being cannot be given any form, but it must mean definitely something else. That is, we are going to deal with the following paragraphs. We'll explain this. It means reflecting the qualities in the created form. That's what we have to understand here. Reflecting the qualities of the creator in a created form. By definition, as soon as we say the created form, we cannot really think about the shape, but in the created quality, which is limited, changing, and not definitely not absolute. So I will understand this narration of the Prophet, of the sayings of the Prophet. Definitely God created human beings in a way that reflects the, excuse me if you don't mind. Excuse me, somebody was expected to moderate the class today, and something happened. Then he's informing me what happened. Okay, that's why I'm here. I wouldn't interrupt the class with any telephone call or messages, but that was necessary. It was something related to the class anyway. So we understand that, we should understand that the point is human beings are given the qualities of the creator in such a way that appropriate to being a created being, created, and also enabling human beings to understand their creator's qualities, as if giving the tools to understand the qualities of the creator, to understand the qualities of the creator. That is the point. So I am given the tools to understand the qualities of the creator. So in order to complete the text we read today, Asim read today, there is, sorry, again, doesn't kill me. Okay, the verse here, there is nothing whatever like unto him. This is the fundamental belief, what fundamental teachings of the Quran. So we have no option whatsoever to understand the Hadith, the above Hadith narration. This one, God created man in the form of the Most Merciful. We have no option to say that this Hadith tells me that God is somehow looks like a man, but it's a huge man, or and absolute man. No, no. Hadith doesn't mean this, cannot be this, because the messenger cannot contradict what the message itself states. Here it is. The message states that there is nothing whatever like unto him, unto God. It means I cannot understand at all that human appearance, human qualities somehow resembles God's appearance and God's qualities. I think the case is clear, and we will pay attention in the following paragraphs why, for example, the sayings of the prophet doesn't include like this, doesn't state like this. God created man in the form of him in general. No, no, in the form of the most merciful. In the form of the most merciful. Why most merciful? That is the subject connected to our subject, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Hadith says also most merciful. That is the relationship, but we have to understand why Hadith says the most merciful rather than God created man in his own form. Now, merciful is the key point here. We will discuss this, but prepare our minds. We are given the tools to understand how all qualities of the Creator comes from his mercy, or all the qualities of the Creator reminds us his mercy. For example, people talk about God's wrath. God is angry with those people. God has some enemies, etc. We have to understand all of these qualities in the form of mercy. We are given the ability, we are enabled to understand that these qualities of God maybe loving qualities, maybe somehow not liking qualities. Oh, this is wrong. I don't like it. This is an enmity towards me. Be careful. Watch out, human beings. Oh, I'm going to punish you with a severe punishment. You cannot really bear it. It is so horrible for you. Oh, but look, God is punishing me. Where is mercy in it? And the Hadith says, oh, human beings, be careful. You can understand mercy in this kind of sayings of God and also creation of God. You can understand there are some stories mentioned in the Quran that refers to certain group of peoples during the lifespan of mankind, all history of mankind, different tribes or people are destroyed with God's anger. All these stories seems to be God is not merciful, destroying the people, creating undesirable things for human beings. Where is mercy in it? So when I say, in the name of God, the most merciful, I will say, oh, not always all merciful, all compassionate. Sometimes he gets angry. That's what we have to understand, benefit from this hadith, that God created man in a way that he can see mercy in all of his qualities. That's what we are going to study in the following. I'm sorry, I know I spoke long, but that's what I felt the need to make the case clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Lee. Very good points that were made, and how you connected the Hadith and explained the Hadith on it has to be understood within the fundamentals of belief, and how the verse that there is nothing whatever like unto him and he hears and sees all things, exactly that is the fundamental belief verse, which is Quran chapter 42 verse 11, and which is how the Hadith is referring, kind of tying that into that explanation of the way the qualities of human being, as you said, also about the, and the, explaining the form being the Arabic word of surah, or, you know, I don't know how to translate that, but form or picture or image is usually how it gets translated. But we need to understand that not to ignore the created part. God created man. And in terms of the qualities, as you mentioned, that how I or every human being is given the qualities, you know, the tools to understand. I am given the tools to understand the qualities of the creator or the source of existence, of the most merciful. So I, as a human being, am given the tools to understand the qualities of the creator. So that was, I just wanted to highlight that again. And if there is any other point anybody wants to make, any comment, anything before we move on, please raise your hand. I have one person here. Please, Faria, go ahead.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So this is an interesting verse. There is nothing whatever like unto him, and he hears and sees all things. I would want to start with the latter part. He hears and sees all things. It's connecting pretty much to what we've been discussing thus far and what has been said. I have several needs as a human being. I may need to be sustained. I may need to be given existence. So the one that's giving me my needs must also know them, because by definition, he's the one that has manufactured me or designed me. So he hears and sees all things. So I really liked the part that Brother Ali also highlighted, that I'm given all the tools to understand the quality of my maker. So really, when I start with my own existence, with my needs, so there must be a one that has given me these needs, and that is also meeting these needs within the universe, and really how I'm made. We're not going to stretch it out, but just like essential needs as well, we all, I think, can relate to that. And so from here, there's nothing whatever like unto him. So the first part of the verse is also very intriguing, because it founds, or it formulates the belief foundation. And just earlier, like Asim highlighted about La ilaha, you know, when I conclude everything in terms of really when I question what is the cause of existence of anything here, or what is really fulfilling my needs, or what is satisfying me, you know, does matter or the cells have any quality to sustain me? No. So then I say, oh, nothing of this universe has anything or any quality to give me existence or sustain me. So there's nothing whatever like unto him. So when I conclude that there must be an absolute, not of the nature of this universe, so that's how my human journey also starts, with experiencing the universe, which encompasses of making some observation and coming to a conclusion. And then from there, I can further expand on in terms of, yeah, you know, there must be an absolute being, because I cannot otherwise explain how things are being brought here, how my needs are met, and so on. And so that was a great highlight. And another point I wanted to mention in terms of the Hadith, God created man in the form of the Most Merciful. Obviously, there are, you know, there's something with the language as well, but we have to make sense of it. And just like it was pointed out, so the created part, like, hey, you know, I must be given existence. I'm created, right? We cannot deny that. And from there, in the form of the most merciful, how do we understand that? It's pretty much, we can take the analogy of, let's say, a designer. When the designer designs, let's say, some nice clothing, you know, and then people appreciate it. Usually people say, oh, you know, the personality, or the, you know, the persona of the designer is reflected in the clothing or the art. So similarly, the one that's creating this universe, including you and I in it, his qualities are reflected into the universe and our being and so forth. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fariha. Okay, anybody else who wants to share in, add anything? Yes, HPza, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for all the comments so far. Been very helpful for putting what we've been reading in context of the greater topic of in the name of God. You know, I still think as we delved into this last week, it's very interesting to kind of, for me at least, you know, in trying to understand why the author is bringing this hadith and this verse into context here, within the scope of Bismillah. And what I've kind of taken away from what's been said is this emphasis on the necessity for me to understand my own position, my own limitedness and createdness, thereby confirming him as the most merciful, or in other words, the creator, not the created, the absolute. So in knowing my own position, I can get to know my source, or in knowing what I am, which is what I'm not, in that I'm not absolute in any sense. Then I can get to know my source of existence, who is what there is to be, which is absolute. So, and just to tie this in with one of the points that Faria also shared, that, you know, only through my created form can I understand this quality of the most merciful as well, because in my created form is the need. So in a way, I cannot separate my needs from my own createdness. They go hand in hand. And so I need to go through this sort of negation by saying la ilaha, or, you know, that cannot be the source of existence of that quality with things within the universe. And this negation going hand in hand with my understanding of who I am as well, meaning of not being the absolute source of any quality or anything really. So it's what I am is actually what I'm not, if that kind of makes sense. And these two ideas being very tightly intertwined together, in being able to then say or conclude that I have been created in the form of the most merciful, and that it is he who hears and sees all, because I am one who is in need and who cannot sustain or have absolute dominion over any of these qualities. Thanks.
Thank you, HPza. Beautiful. Okay, so I'll give in 1 or 2 more seconds to see if anybody else wants to say anything. Otherwise, we'll continue on with reading the next paragraph, which starts from however. Okay, all right, I just don't see any hands. So according to the meaning of the following verse and its parabolic comparison. And his is the highest similitude in the heavens and the earth, and he is exalted in might, full of wisdom. This is also from the Quran, chapter 30, verse 27. And his is the highest similitude in the heavens and the earth, and he is exalted in might, full of wisdom. Okay, so so we're reading that verse, and then his actions, attributes, and names may be considered. Actions, attributes, and names may be considered. That is to say, allegory and comparison may be used in connection with his actions. Allegory and comparison may be used in connection with his actions. One of the many things intended by the above mentioned hadith is man is in a form that displays the divine name of All-Merciful in its entirety. I think Brother Ali was highlighting the part of the focusing on the All-Merciful aspect being reflected on man. So man is in a form that displays the divine name of All-Merciful in its entirety. Yes, as we explained before, the divine name of All-Merciful is manifested through the rays of 1001 names on the face of the universe, and is apparent through the innumerable manifestations of God's absolute dominicality on the face of the earth. Similarly, its complete manifestation is apparent in a small measure in man's comprehensive form, the same as on the face of the earth and the face of the universe. Similarly, its complete manifestation is apparent in a small measure in man's comprehensive form, the same as on the face of the earth and the face of the universe. So the divine name of All-Merciful is manifested through the whole on the whole universe, and is apparent in the manifestations of different qualities that we see in the face of the earth. Similarly, its complete manifestation, the divine name All-Merciful, is apparent in a small measure in man's comprehensive form. The complete manifestation of All-Merciful is apparent in a small measure in man's comprehensive form, the same as on the face of the earth, similar to how we observe it in the universe, the way everything shows in the universe. Okay, let's try to work on this paragraph before we move on to the next one also. So this verse starts off with, and his is the highest similitude in the heavens and the earth, and he is exalted in might, full of wisdom. So this further brings into light that whatever you think of in terms of this is, something that quality that you've appreciated or you've seen, then whoever is the source has the highest similitude, and his is the highest similitude. So meaning there is really whatever you're experiencing as a human being in a created form, all these qualities that you see are in a reflective or a created form. So the word is usually used as manifested form. As he says, is manifested through the rays of 1001 names. So everything that we are, every quality, everything, or every actions, attributes, and names that we are coming to, they are manifested in a reflected form. They must be, because we are experiencing them here in this universe, and there must be somebody who gives them existence, or to whom these reflective qualities belong to. So there, again, it puts the verse, going back to the verses, is the highest similitude in the heavens and the earth. So whatever you experience in the heavens and the earth emanates from the one who is the source of existence, or an absolute source. So there can be no comparison. And then it further solidifies it. The verse says that he is exalted in might, full of wisdom. And so now this, how the author is presenting this, his understanding. So he says, look at, do your observation in the universe, see, and all the actions, the qualities that you're reading, and coming to whatever conclusions, seeing that whatever the name you might see in the universe, you might see, some beauty, you might see, power, you might see art, you might see wisdom, purpose. So all those things through the attributes and names, he says. So you can look at them and observe them and consider them. So that is to say, he says, allegory and comparison may be used in connection with his actions. One of the many things intended by the aforementioned Hadith is man is in the form that displays the divine name of All-Merciful in its entirety. Now, this is interesting that he says that man is in a form that displays the divine. So there, as Brother Ali highlighted, I'm just bringing that again in terms of the human being, how, and I know some of the comments from H.P. Zafariha also mentioned that, about looking at the human being themselves and seeing what the human being has. So human being possesses or is given, is endowed with. That's what the human being finds himself with, the tools or with the things that he has, his feelings, his senses, like to be, to be kind to, let's say, your parents, young ones, other fellow beings, to creation. You want to water the flowers, the plants. So all those things are, man has those certain attributes, certain qualities, and through them, man is able to understand that these are coming from or are belonging to, refer to, these qualities refer to the All-Merciful One. So it's just like a sample or a reflection of the quality of All-Merciful that is the point of focus, in at least in this paragraph, as I see it, like the name All-Merciful in its entirety. So everything, whatever quality we experience, we interact with, only signifies, points that, whoever is reflecting this or is showing that, I can come to that conclusion by looking at myself, by observing the acts in creation, looking at the universe. I can come to see that it must be the work of an All-Merciful One. So I will pause here because I think maybe somebody might have some comments to say or would like to add anything. Yeah, let me give a few seconds. Yeah, I mean, so if this makes sense, or if you want to say anything, yeah, Brother Ali, go ahead, please.
I think the case is, the subject is somehow clear. I always find simple examples practical and useful to understand the seemingly complicated statements. His God's is the highest similitude. Let's put it in a simple language. The highest similitude in the heavens and earth belongs to God. The highest similitude, which is called the Mathalul A'la. Walahul Mathalul A'la. Now, there is a mithal, similitude, or you can say a kind of parable that belongs to him, but in the highest form. I understand this. For example, if you look at anything in this universe, you will find many different qualities manifested in it. Whatever the qualities we find in the universe, in the creation, in the pieces of the creation in the universe, we say, well, the most obvious one is they exist. This is the quality. The most essential quality is existing. Highest similitude of existing belongs to God, the creator. What does it mean? Something, an object exists here, so it demonstrates that its creator also exists, but not like the created being. You can say this thing, this object, whatever you can imagine, anything you can imagine in the world exists, demonstrating that the one who gave existence to it has also existence, but multiplied by infinite. You cannot reach it. You cannot say, for example, the universe is huge, but you know, God is even bigger than, it is a false comparison, because you can say number 5 is bigger than number 4. That's very simple. That's what I know, the simple things in mathematics. 5 is bigger than 4. 5 billion is even much, much bigger than 4. Not like this. The highest, you can say not 5 billion, but 5 trillion, still countable number. Go further, go further. How can I go further? I say, okay, I cannot explain the quality of the creator in terms of numbers. Because any number has a bigger number than itself. It is not the highest. Higher, but not the highest. Not the highest. risale-i. So only this verse can only be understood by saying infinite existence. And the second most apparent quality that we see, everything has a form, giving a form. So they are given a forms. So God is the form giver. Which kind of form giver? Infinite form giver. Why? Everything is given a form, but at the same time, countless numbers of the things are given specific forms for each of them, specific. At the same time, what is even more interesting, bewildering human minds, these forms are continuously changing, and they are renewed with new forms at the same time. All the things, for example, don't say that, well, I don't know why, but rabbit came to my mind. Rabbit has a form. A rabbit has a form, but baby rabbit, 1 day old rabbit, 1 month old rabbit, they are given different forms. But not only rabbits, every rabbit is given different form than the other rabbits. And also, not only rabbits, all other kinds of animals, the plants and everything are given different forms at every time. We understand that form giver must be an absolute, infinite form giver. Now, that's why we cannot understand the Hadith narration, which was in the previous discussion. God created man in the form of the most merciful. These Hadith narrations must be understood. Yes, this form is infinite form. God, the form belongs to God, is infinite form, but human form is given form. So we cannot really liken it each other. We cannot imagine which kind of qualities God has by giving forms to those qualities. These are impossible. That's why the Quran makes it clear that you cannot understand the sayings of the messengers as contradicting to the message he brings to us. Now, another aspect is, another point I understood from this paragraph that Asim read today. Of course, people find it difficult to understand the existence of hell, existence of punishment, and existence of destroying, and we call them calamities. Those people who don't believe in God, they call the calamities as natural disasters. Well, we understand that nothing can happen naturally by itself. Nothing can be the agent of its own actions, originator of its own actions, creator of its own actions. Even human beings are not the creators, originators of their actions. We human beings just choose, and the result is created by the one who creates the universe. We cannot create it, we just choose it. That's the mantra we keep saying, this: human beings cannot create, human beings only can create from among among the options. Only we choose from among the options given to us. And how we choose it? By following the order, what the order requires. That's a very simple, very essential understanding of human nature. Let alone if the human beings cannot create their own actions, although seemingly we are choosing them using our free will, seem to be, if we are not careful, that we are doing something, but in fact, we are choosing. The other creatures don't have the free will as much as even the human beings have. So if human beings cannot create his own actions, of course, the other beings cannot create their own. The actions, they are just given. We understand from there. So we just choose, but we choose between right and wrong. Some of them are wrong, some of them are right. If we choose wrong actions, it means the wrong options, it means it contradicts human nature. Human nature represents God's mercy. If I destroy, damage God's mercy, what I do, I contradict myself. I hurt myself. I am not sure about the word, which is in English, congruent. If somebody's part of somebody's body rots, becomes dysfunctioned. Is it called congruent in English? Somebody say. No. Okay. Let me see, somebody wrote it, something. Necrosis. I don't know the word, frankly. Okay. Are you clear about what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's clear.
Sorry.
I think it's clear. You can go ahead.
So, is congruent an English word?
I think somebody put it gangrene or something.
Gangrene, all right. H. Susan, thank you. Gangrene. So, what people, what the doctors do or medical specialists do, cut it off. There is no way to save it. But when they cut the part which is completely corrupted, completely dysfunctioned, they save the rest of the body because it expands. When the doctors or the surgeons cut them off, of course, they are angry. They are angry with the corrupted part, dysfunctioning part, totally rotten part. They want to take it away in order to save the rest of the body. There is a beautiful narrations again from the sayings, descriptions of the messenger, the prophet, the messenger of God. He says, those people who were sent to hell, hell represents, to me, hell is a place, although seems to be punishing, but at the same time cleansing. Cleansing the dirt, cleansing the corrupted parts, so that the rest, which are not corrupted parts, will be saved. So, like the rotten metal is thrown into the furnace and all the rotten parts are burned in order to save the good quality core or good quality metals side. This is not really anger, but we human beings also don't like the rotten part. We just send them, clean them, so to completely eradicate the rotten parts in order to save the rest. While we are doing it, yes, we are angry with the rusted part. We want that part also not to be rusted, but human beings are free. They can choose to be rusted, to be rotten. They can choose it. But God says, if you do it, I will definitely get angry with the corrupted part and clean it. The Hadith narration says, those people in hell, it means those people who need to be cleaned, perfected, put into the hell, and then they are taken away. This is the description of the Hadith narrations from Bukhari and Muslim. So, I mean, the people, the experts say you cannot argue the authenticity of these hadiths. They are well-established hadiths, certified hadiths, if you like. So this hadith says, when they are taken away from the hell, they are black everywhere, everybody, every part. So they are thrown into a riverside. And after a time, as we see that the seeds, uncorrupted seeds, are fallen into a right atmosphere now, and new shoots come out yellow, fresh, out of them. Because rust's corrupted part of human side is cleaned, and its essence, the seed, is preserved, and from the seed there will be a new creation, resurrection, in the form of a perfect man. So what we understand that God threatens human beings not to corrupt themselves, not that he is angry and wrath has taken him. No, he is informing human beings that what they are choosing in the wrong way corrupts their nature. So he is, out of his mercy, warns human beings with enthusiastic language, saying that, no, you cannot do it. You cannot corrupt your nature. Otherwise, I have to clean it. I have to take into operation and make a surgery over it, and it will hurt you. You cannot really stand it. It is unbearable. So out of mercy, he warns us with severe language. Out of mercy, he puts us into a cleaning machine, which is called hell, and so that to save even the smallest seed that deserves to be saved, a little bit, a seed of small amount of belief, truthfulness in our nature, in our being, out of this we will be entertained, inshallah. So mercy of God is or needs to be understood in order to understand God's all different kinds of names: Qahar, Jabbar, Aziz, Zul Intiqam. These are, I don't know, destroyers, completely establishes the justice, destroys the wrong, and revenges. If something goes wrong, he doesn't ignore it, he revenges it, he punishes it, and cleans it in order to help human beings to be on the safe side. So that we will be on the safe side. We will say, oh, it is something, no one wants to lose one of his limbs, for example. Even they corrupt, one of the limbs becomes corrupted. We want to take it away in order to save the rest of the body. So we go and pay a lot of money to get to undergo the surgery and take this corrupted part, cut this corrupted part away, cut it away, so that the rest of my body is saved. So we pay for it. But when the language of the Quran, the language of God in the Quran is misunderstood, we say, God is not merciful. No, he's merciful. That's why he is begging you not to corrupt yourself, saying that, look, I have to take it into operation. I have to take you into operation and practice surgery on you. So don't make me in this position. So clean, keep yourself on the right side. Don't corrupt your nature, which I created perfectly. Don't corrupt my perfect creation. That is what we have to understand. For example, if I am a surgeon, I wasn't, but I am not. But if I was, if I am going to make an operation, I would say, because I'm going to cut the limb of the sick person, I will say, Bismillah, in the name of God, who is merciful and compassionate, and put the whatever they use, not a knife, but they are called different names. I don't know the name. And cut the part by saying that I am acting in the name of a merciful creator. Is it contradictory? No. That's what we have to understand. For example, if someone needs to be punished in order to help him correct himself, herself, I have to say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the most merciful, and punish him. If it is the only way this person can learn how to behave himself and protect his beautiful nature. Thank you.
MashaAllah, thank you, Brother Ali. A lot of things to reflect on based on what you shared. Thank you for that. I think we are at time right now, so if any final comments by anyone to what has been said or want to add anything, this is the time before we close. But I liked how Brother Ali explained the verse and the comparison to, I mean, the mathematical example also makes it easy to understand. Like whatever the number you think of, there's a bigger number, but then once you see infinity, then there is nothing. You know, there's no comparison to infinity and any other number. So that's how the universe, whatever is created, and the source of that universe must be the infinite, absolute source. So that, and then the names of, you know, the so-called, you know, the cleanser, the, you know, the rectifier, or all those. MashaAllah, Brother Ali shared those names and how those are manifested here in the universe, and access for the human being to wake up and realize and be aware, not to corrupt their tools that are given to them. So that's why it's important that we seek in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and always be aware that all these things are, you know, coming and belonging to, for us to actually communicate back to him and realize who we are and what our position in this world is, and that we only seek his assistance, his mercy, his compassion in whatever we do. So I know there's one paragraph left. I don't know. I think we can read it next time, inshallah. Thank you everyone for your contributions, and I really appreciated everybody working on this together. So I'll do the closing prayer, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Brother, you're muted.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, I'll see you next Monday and next Saturday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.